Thank you so much, guys, for connecting to our collective calls. We hold them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's Tuesday, and I'm happy to present you two amazing projects going to be pitching here. The first things first, let's introduce ourselves. So we are Ivan and Malika, and we are hosts of such meetings. As I said before, we got two amazing projects today to pitch and answer the Q&A, so the usual drill. The first things first, we got Hamza, leader of the project called Trade Blocks, and also Brighton joining us here as well. Is a co-founder of the project called Taste Foundation. Then let's start with Brighton and Taste Foundation. Brighton, if you don't mind, please go ahead.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. So my name is Brighton Doig. I'm the co-founder of Taste Foundation. Essentially, we work in the creative industries, and we're kind of a conduit between creative industries, blockchain, and AI. There's a lot of questions going around in our industry right now about this technology, what it means for their future. We've spent a lot of time. We've got a big good network in the creative industry. So for the past 2 years, we've been working on this project to be kind of act as this really exciting conduit between bringing these industries into this new industry and kind of converging them and opening up new ways to monetize, amplify basically creative content. So basically, we work in the business of hyper-personalized fan experiences. So essentially, obviously, again, the convergence of creative industries, generative AI, these are the markets we're working in. We've only got 5 minutes, so I'm just going to kind of get to the point. So our audience is evolving a lot faster than basically IP, brands, and creative industries can keep up. What does this mean? Is that essentially is the static content game of servicing static content, right? I collect or create assets. I create, a film or whatever it might be, and then I service that to a fan base. This is changing. Our audiences want, more engagement, more levels of autonomy. They want to engage on a deeper level to brands and audiences. We have basically identified this is exactly what AI can do for the creative industries. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of stacks of where AI can be used for creative industries, but we're really focused on how this can basically amplify the way that people connect with brands in a more interactive way. So essentially, we act as an agency. So we work with a bunch of really exciting IP clients. We train and create models which serve as kind of the epicenter of an experience. So we really identify what exactly these IP clients want to do, how they want to activate and engage their audiences. It could be interactive storyboards, it could be a trading card game, whatever that might be. And then we kind of create these models for these IP brands. But not only that, we verify them on the blockchain. We basically hand over this asset, which becomes a monetizable asset. And then our business model is kind of tacking on top of the way that they and how much they utilize and create inference from these AI models. So yeah, essentially the framework of our brand, we transform IP, intellectual property, into dynamic and hyper-personalized AI experiences that of course generate revenue. So here's an example, just to kind of give everyone a really clear example of what we mean. We created a kind of a proof of concept or a use case. This is called Abyss. These are hyper-personalized AI experience based on basically a choose-your-own-adventure game mechanic. So we had about 7,000 users come in over a 30-day campaign, which was based around a normal hero's journey story arc. The cards they collected, the assets they collected, are a dynamic representation of the choices they have made in a really clean and intuitive UI. So they come in and they basically get posed with a scenario, and they get this autonomy and they get to make these choices based on what they want to do, right? So we're basically identifying that there's a whole new level of the way we can monetize IP if we give audiences an opportunity to make choices themselves. And these choices, are kind of like the new way that we make money, because we're giving them an ability and this idea of co-creation, and we can fine tune and hyper-personalize the experiences using AI models. So these cards are quite literally, every single one of them is unique. We had 40,000 cards over a period of 30 days. We generated mass revenue off 0% IP, so completely unknown IP. This was a massive hit. So in a lot of ways, we validated that you give users an opportunity to make choices for themselves and create assets rather than receive them and purchase them. We're entering a whole new dynamic is the way, basically the way that we can kind of use AI to amplify the way we interact with brands. This is a bit about the team. I'm going to kind of sum up really quick, just my final minute. These are the kind of things that we're talking about and we're working with it currently. So we're working with the Alan Watts Foundation. Just at the moment, we're kind of creating a livable experience in a space which centers around essentially like training models around Alan Watts's works, a lot of his unreleased material, and his wellness conversations. Futurum Gaming, we're working with them to create and fine tune essentially real-time responsive AI tutors for children. So from education from the ages of 3 to 14. Hoodlum Entertainment takes care of a lot of different films in the film industry. We're working with a animation called the Freak Brothers. Essentially, there's a lot of weed smoking and kind of pot culture. So we're creating like a trading card game for them, so their kind of fans and their followers can kind of mix weed and kind of like create these spliffs and basically just have fun, which is completely under the banner of their intellectual property. And heavy metal, they're an old legacy IP with like comic books, super massive back in the late 60s and 70s. We're bringing that dormant IP back to life using this kind of technology. So I'll peel up there, and if anyone's got any questions, please hit me.
Yeah, totally. We already received one, so let me read that real quick. Okay, it goes like this. You got some insane IP lined up. How do you actually convince traditional media giants to go full AI? Full AI plus Web3 with you, sorry.
Basically our background. We have 20 years experience in the film industries. We've worked across film sets. We've worked in design, art, entertainment, festivals, events. This is our background. So we can very much speak their language. I guess the other thing to answer that question is it's not full AI. That's one of the ways we actually kind of convince them. But the other thing as well is obviously the time we've spent on the verification infrastructure. So essentially we use a standard called ERC 7007 and zero knowledge proof to protect training data. So we basically attach a smart contract to the models that we use for these activations and for these experiences. So we're basically also offering them not only a use case or a way to monetize their AI models, but ways to protect their data that they use to train AI models and actually have like a sovereign ownership over the models themselves. So we're kind of cutting all the verticals and making sure that we listen to exactly where the apprehension from AI from these big clients are coming from, how to hit that up basically straightforward, and then obviously work with them on a bespoke level to monetize that and make sure that it makes and generates revenue for them and obviously both for us as well.
Okay, got it. Here's a following question. There's a lot of AI noise out there. What's one thing your tech stack lets you do that almost no one else can?
It's fine tuning. So essentially, we don't really rely or build a business model on AI tools as such. We think a lot of the noise is coming from that. A lot of the tools that we offer, including the flows that we create for, let's say, custom trading cards and stuff like this. This is all a B2B offering. This is all under the hood technology that we offer to kind of our clients, to refine their style. We work in a very, very different way. Like rather than essentially just like creating a one tool fits all, we actually kind of just like aggregate a lot of tools to make sure that we actually reflect brands and we reflect art styles and we reflect kind of exactly what they're trying to achieve. This couldn't be achieved with just a tech company. This is the strength of our team. We come from creative directors. We come from creative direction. We understand the creative process fundamentally. And this is why brands are still choosing to work with us, because there's one fundamental fear about AI and the noise of AI, which is they just don't want their brand to turn into slop, like what we've seen. They really want someone to respect, their process, where they come from, and really work to make sure that they reflect that in a multimodal aspect. So that's basically the answer to that question.
I see. Thank you so much, Brighton. We still have time for a couple of questions. Please post them in the chat. And meanwhile, Brighton, I really want to know about the competitions. So who are your main competitors in this field?
Main competitors, that's a really, really good question. Someone like Story Protocol could potentially kind of come up, or has come up over the couple of years of our insurgence as we've been growing. I feel like we've grown a bit separate to them these days. They're very much focused on remixology. Remixology is a possible byproduct of some of the activations we want to create. It's something that we want to explore, and we have explored in the past. However, it's not our primary concern. We definitely kind of align on elements of verifying intellectual property, but we have some reservations about how Story Protocol have kind of chosen to go about things. It's kind of like a wild, wild west, and then they'll sort out the problems later. We're trying to work with basically on a bespoke level, bit by bit. There's a big legal infrastructure to this argument. Intellectual property and tokenizing intellectual property is this kind of buzzword because it's a big bridge to cross. Tokenizing IP is not as simple as just building some frameworks. It's about working very closely with existing and pre-existing legal frameworks to bring that on chain. So we believe our approach is a bit different and probably a bit more positive, just in the fact that the legal infrastructure of intellectual property is not a blanket law. It's not just the same everywhere. It is different for every single client. There's a lot of different people involved with intellectual property. So yeah, the other thing is interesting is a lot of our previous competitors, we actually have ended up kind of collaborating with them. So for example, there's a studio which is Web2 based called Elias. Is an amazing woman called Primavera who runs a Glitch Festival here in Europe as well. We've recently connected and found complete alignment. We're trying to do the same thing. So in a lot of ways, a lot of our competitors, we end up kind of just basically getting in contact with, and we kind of all, I guess, essentially work together in a sense. But I guess the best part of that we have or advantage of our competitors is our network and our ability to speak creative language.
Right then, thank you for addressing my question. I will also received one in the chat. Let me go.
No worries.
You mentioned decentralized entertainment. How do you keep it from turning into chaos while still staying open and creative?
Turning into chaos. Yeah, I mean, I guess you may be referencing something like DAOs or something like that potentially.
I guess so. Yeah, here's the question as follows. So I just read that. Probably, yes.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we very much are trying to provide an infrastructure, for these chains, these models to live on chain and live. When I say live on chain, I mean live quite agnostically on chain. So be quite interoperable with the Ethereum virtual machine as a whole. We see this as obviously a really important part for an open, transparent ledger, being able to kind of see and understand where content is coming from. We're about to enter. I mean, my short answer to your question is the chaos is inevitable. The chaos of AI is coming, and we actually think that this is a really, really important part that the blockchain has to play with us really stepping and diving into AI. If it becomes infinitely easy or accessible to create content with a touch of a button or a type of a keyboard, we find it infinitely more important to actually have a trace knowledge and a track of what and who is making what. It's extremely important, especially for the previous big players in intellectual property. As we go 20 years from now, we want to be able to find some trace of the chaos. So I think, the Web3 and the blockchain is a really important part for kind of at least just having some kind of connected mycelium network amongst the dirt of everything, and the soil of content essentially. But yeah, it's important to note, I just kind of landed on this slide as well, that we abstract the blockchain. So the blockchain element for us is a B2B offering. It's how we can prove and show an infrastructure for people and intellectual property houses training models, how they can, retain visibility on what that model's doing and how it's operating. But when we come to interactivity, we are obviously working with audiences that are primarily Web2. So we're working with a partner, Nevermind, who we're really we've created some amazing credit-based or system for basically accessing inference and the things that are stored on chain. That's completely abstracted through the UI. So if it's a football activation, you're topping up on footballs and you're spending footballs, even though you might be spending some elements of what's happening on chain. We really, really believe in the way that these things are going to be mass adopted and used by mass audiences is only if we're able to, accept that the blockchain offers a really good B2B offering, but really is just kind of too clunky for users at this point. So we need to abstract that if we really want to see mass usage of these kind of activations. So yeah, it's a big pillar of what we do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for your time, everybody.
Yeah, totally, man. It's really interesting. Thank you for such informative answer.
Thank you so much, Brighton, for the great pitch. It was very interesting.
So let's not waste time. Thank you so much, guys. Hopefully that was prolific. So we did one project, and yeah, Brighton, thank you so much. And yeah, happy to see you guys today. See you in 2 days. Thursday. Yeah, totally. Cheers. Thank you, Malika.
Bye-bye.